everybody's unmuted that needs to be and joined.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How is everybody in Mission?
Very well, very well.
Good. So you can hear us. Great. We can hear you. So I will, first of all, welcome everybody in person here and to our partners in Mission. I will call this Joint Shared Services Committee meeting for Thursday, July 14 to order. And the first item of business is the minutes of the Joint Services Committee meeting held May 12, 2022. Adoptions moved by Councillor Siemens, seconded by Councillor Plecas. I think I saw you at the end.
Yes.
Yep, thank you. Are there any errors or omissions? Don't hear any, don't see any hands raised. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. That takes us to our first report, which is Bevan Wells, Annual Environmental Monitoring Report. And Stella, oh no, Stella's not going to do it. It says Stella here, but okay. Amy's going to do it.
I'm in a course at the moment, so that's why Stella was going to pop out.
Oh, okay.
So good morning, everybody. The purpose of this report is to advise the committee that the year 10, which is May 2020, Bevan monitoring report was submitted to the Environmental Assessment Office in accordance with the EA certificate conditions. So the report is available on the region website, Our Water Matters, which is provided on page 7. So the city is required to monitor the effects of the Bevan wells that may affect surface water flow. So I've been presenting this report, I think, for 10 years. So no unanticipated adverse effects were identified in 10, and the well levels and creek flows over the years of the project show consistency. So after 10 years of monitoring, there have been no significant changes that can be attributed to Bevan wells. So future reports will be prepared for JSSC if there is a significant change to the monitoring program or if we need to amend the EAC. So the reporting will continue to be monitored through UMC, and then if we find there's any significant changes, JSSC. So staff asked for this report to be received for information.
Good, thank you. Recommendations moved by Councillor Parkman. I can't see Mission, so okay, now I can. Boy, I don't know if it was Councillor Crawford or
Councillor Hamilton.
yeah, who was first there? I'll go with Councillor Crawford for now.
Thank you.
Any questions on the report or from staff?
Not here from Mission. It's fine. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anything here. So are we still pumping water into the various creeks?
Only if it's triggered. So there is a trigger based on the flow of several different creeks. So we have 3 mitigation wells, and it depends with Horn Creek if the flow drops below a certain flow, and we've used the Bevan wells for a certain number of days and volume, then it triggers the mitigation wells. So we have in the past, there's been technical issues where we've triggered, but based on our usage, we haven't.
Okay, so it's not an ongoing, so we still have to do all of that. We still have to put water into the creek.
Yes.
When the trigger
hits.
And how many times over 10 years?
Does
that trigger
it's
roughly?
Been technical difficulties, probably about 2 times.
Oh, okay, so it's not a lot.
So fish trap, we do run the mitigation well consistently because we're having difficulties with the monitoring station.
Yep.
And it's only 2 liters per second.
Okay, that's not a lot. Relatively speaking.
Yes.
It's more than I can drink in a second. Don't see any other questions. So all those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you. Next report is James Plant bi-monthly water report. Jamie's going to do that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Amy.
I'm pleased to present the bi-monthly James Plant report for May and June of 22. The plant met all regulatory parameters for this reporting period. And as of the date of this report, we had 2,714 tons of biosolids leaving the facility. And if we could go to 6E on page 20, we'll see the toxicity curve. And the June sample is in the red circle. There you go. Yeah, so we see the June sample there in the red circle, which is it looks very good to us. Upon that, it concludes the report, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to speak.
Okay, recommendation is moved by
Councilor Plecas?
Councillor Plecas, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Siemens. Any questions on the report? Seems to be in order, but just in case, I always want to give somebody an opportunity. No, don't see any questions in the room or from Mission, so all those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. That takes us to our bi-monthly water, and Jamie, you're going to continue with that.
Yes, thank you again, Mayor. I'm pleased to present the bi-monthly water report for May and June of 2022. All water quality results during this period met regulatory requirements for the reporting period. Go to A, page 23. This shows the daily demand. Did have a peak of 91.8 megaliters. That occurred on 7. Next point of interest is Appendix C, 2 pages down on page 25. This shows the monthly demands. You can see we're down quite a bit. May was down 10% in comparison to the same time last year, and June was down by 21%. And of course, this is attributed to the heat dome experience in proximity. It's the large change there. If I could move to Appendix E and F on page 27 and 28, we have our lake levels. First up is Dixon. We're at 99%. You can see we're just starting to fall into the typical seasonal decline. We no longer have water from snowpack coming in Dixon itself now. Next page is Canal. It's sitting at 6%, doing quite well, and it's also beginning its seasonal. No other items to comment upon, and that concludes the report. If there's any questions.
Okay, thank you. I should maybe just ask Mission. So sound wise, you can hear our presenters? Problem?
Lost a bit of Jamie there in this conversation, but we got the gist of it.
Yes, I know. Yeah, when your voice drops down, I was wondering if they were big.
Yeah,
So,
we lost it.
anyways,
Oh,
everything
okay.
seems to be in order. Motion to receive the report, which is what the recommendation is. Moved by Councillor Barkman, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. I think I saw that hand go up.
Yep.
Any questions of staff or the report itself? See any hands? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Next item, please. Financial statements. Great. Morning.
So today I'm presenting the May 2022 financial statements. Diving right in, there were no significant revenue variances to date, but overall expenditures are $257,000 lower than May 2021. General services is lower. Sorry, if we just go to the next page. Yep. General services is lower due to vacancies, which is in turn driving lower equipment charges. And maintenance is also lower by $103,000. Last year, there was work done on the membranes, which wasn't required this year. Sewer operating, no significant revenue variances to date. Expenses are $112,000 lower than the same time last year, and that's due to a few factors. General services is $460,000 lower than May 2021, but it's entirely due to the timing of insurance entries. Last year, insurance was posted and paid in Q1, but this year it'll be posted into June. That decrease is actually offset by higher wastewater maintenance costs and higher biosolids management costs during the year. Wastewater maintenance costs are $158,000 higher than May 2021, mostly due to POs that couldn't be completed last year due to transportation issues. Biosolids management is $186,000 higher than May of 2021. We talked about this a little bit last time. It's due to the timing of when the extra tons of biosolids were hauled away due to the road closures at the end of 2021. And we did have a question at the last meeting on if these costs would be eligible for flood recovery. We've looked into it and the answer is no, because the costs are not a result of the flood, but more just deferring from one period into the next in timing. And so it would not be eligible for flood recovery costs. There is a bit of an increase in cost over last year due to the mix of waste that's being processed and the cost of the associated materials, but again, not flood related, so the cost would not be recoverable there. For water capital, we have a total of $211,000 in spending for the year so far. Those projects have a total budget of $2.6 million. For sewer capital, a total of $385,000 has been spent so far with a budget of $3.7 million. And that concludes the report for May 2022. Pause there for questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
No.
So
Not information.
none? Okay, I don't see any hands here either, so carry on, Sabrina. Oh, sorry, that is, yes, so we need, I need to get back to my report. Recommendation is to be received, I think. Yes, it is, right?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Plecas, I think, seconded by Councillor Siemens, and I asked for questions, but I'll ask it again. Any questions of Sabrina? Or on the report? See any? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries, and that takes us to our last report, which is an updated project budget for the James Plant Concrete Works. And Tony is going to lead us through this, I think.
Mr. Mayor, good morning, everyone. This project is located where underground concrete channels and tanks convey raw sewer into the James plant. This is an older section of the plant, and hydrogen sulfide corrosion of the concrete is significant.
Tony, can I just interrupt? Mission, are you able to hear Tony?
His voice is fades out every once in a while.
Yeah, so you're going to have to use your outside voice.
All because I'm reading down. So this work needs to include confined space entry and rescue plans, rescue crew, along with 24-hour sewer bypass pumping, pump redundancy, and pump monitoring. There's a significant amount of work surrounding this project. Staff and the consultant have narrowed the minimum scope to include concrete tank and channel repairs at 2 key locations. This includes the headwork influent channel and the headwork effluent channel. These locations are in very poor condition and must be repaired as soon as possible to minimize risk and maintain operational continuity. Contractor pricing received for these repairs exceeds the current budget. Budget amendment is required. These works should be awarded as soon as possible. Take advantage of favorable weather for this type of work, over summer flows for bypass. Staff will continue to work with procurement and the consultant to determine alternate approaches to reduce costs. Budget can then be updated, and any surplus funding in the budget will be shown in the C line item. It's currently undervalued for a project this magnitude. That's on the next page. It is recommended that a budget amendment be approved in the amount of $2,182,000, and that the GM of engineering and utilities have the authority to approve contracts and work up to the revised budget of $4,670,000.
Thank you. We'll get the screen back up, which we have. Any questions of Tony? Councillor Barkman.
By the sound of your report, this is an ASAP project. How did we get to the point that it wasn't done a year ago or 18 months ago, or how did we get to this time?
Working through this project a number of years, it's entered the project, put it out, RFP. Didn't get any missions. We retender it.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, we're not hearing.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to speak up and speak to this mic.
We've been somewhat delayed through the RFP, the procurement process. Just getting prices back and working through that piece, I think, has been the biggest challenge.
So it was first identified when?
Stella, when was it first identified?
Through the chair to Councillor Barkman,
you may need to come closer, I think, or I don't think Mission can hear you.
Okay.
we had initially done a concrete assessment report back in 2014. And so a number of areas have been identified that require attention within the next 2 to 5 years. And that work was subsequently included in the 2017-2018 master plan. And as part of our budgeting process, we included an annual allowance in there for the concrete work. There are just because I guess for the nature of the work, when it was first assessed, they have to take down the channels in order to be able to see it. So the cost itself was included as an allowance annually, just because we have to sort of go in and have a look and dewater the channel to see the magnitude of the repairs that are required. And so, as you may recall, we have been sort of just initially starting off with some investigative work since the completion of the master plan. And then as Tony mentioned, we had challenges through multiple going out to the market and coming back with new pricing. And then we have just consistently deferred our previous budgets and accumulated to I guess to 2.49 million that we have this year, that we were hoping to finally be able to go in and zone in the high priority areas, which were initially identified as 5 areas. So that was a bit of the history of.
Just to supplement that, this is a very difficult part of the plant to access because it's always got flow running through it. And when the plant was originally designed, it's all enclosed. There's very few access chambers along the way. And so, the repairs are going to be very difficult because it's all confined space. It's all in a tight area. It's going underneath the existing building. And, I would say that if we were to redo it, we would have access points and more chances of isolating flows to work on parts of the system at the same time. All the flow goes through these channels right now, and so that's what makes it very difficult to repair channels, in that all of the flow has to be bypass pumped in order to gain access to the channels.
So how old is,
It's original.
so which is, I should know this, but I don't know when it was built. 1980s, so it's 40 plus years old. Well, stuff happens after 40 years. So, Councillor Barkman.
So question is, are we better to do something new than repair, or is this repair going to be new?
So that's a good point. That as the report mentions, we're looking at alternatives, and one of those alternatives would be a brand new channel that's plastic lined, that's in a different location, not under the building, and we're seeing if that option will be.
And how long would that take the consultants to figure that out?
Oh, that will be fairly short order.
Okay, because my sense from the report is this has to be done during the summer,
Yes.
during the ride,
Yeah.
which is part of the reason for the urgency. I guess the only concern I had is that nobody bid the first time. And I think that's probably a couple of reasons why. Everybody's busy. Now, that may change 6 months, but we don't have 6 months. Yeah, supply chain issues are an issue. I'm hearing it everywhere, so. Problem.
And you're right, but to supplement that, one of the issues at the James plant, especially with working with live sewage is certain. Not a lot of contractors dealing with live sewage, especially with confined space and the safety requirements required to access the site. So that, and when prices go up, when we transfer the risk onto the contractor, when we work with a contractor and go more on a cost plus basis, then we share some of that risk and the decisions along the way. So we'll be reviewing that part. And that's why when we initially went out, that risk is so high. That's why some contractors don't want to do it, because otherwise they give us a huge price because of the unknown. And so this is a little bit different than a new construction work in that you're working with live sewage, live conditions, keeping flows running through the plant. And so it's a very difficult project. And that's why we're seeing fewer.
Anybody from Mission have a question?
Thank you, Mayor Braun. I appreciate the comments from your Director of Engineering. My question was, and I was surprised at this report, but from the point of view, I understand what has to be done and the urgency of it, but I was concerned about the deferral of, not the deferral, but the other components that were being, the other constructors that were left out or have to be done at a later date or looked at a later date, and concerned that the cost may escalate on those as well. We need to get that work done, but I appreciate what Rob said. We're going to investigate. And I guess at a future meeting, we would get an update where we're at with that, because these budgeting concerns are much of a concern going forward. It's not just projects like this, but there'll be other projects that become, the cost become greater than what we budgeted for down the road. Is that a fair statement to make?
Oh, absolutely. If you hadn't asked that, I was going to ask it because we're only doing 2 of the 5 initial structures. I don't know what the other 3 are. That was a question. Are they as critical as this, or are they different?
The other 3 are not in great shape, but they're not as bad as.
So how soon do we need to address those, and what would, given what we know now about these 2 structures, what is the likely, or do we have a feel for the budget? Like, do we need to start planning for this?
Those other locations should be done within the next year.
Okay, and at what cost?
Costs,
Roughly, I'm not looking for it. I won't hold you to the number. I just,
Yeah.
order of magnitude. I have no idea. Are we talking the same amount of money, more money,
probably
similar? Okay, well, and reserves, we have enough in our reserve accounts. I see Comel is nodding yes. So-
Yes, through the chair, we do have enough.
Okay, all right. Well, anyways, you need to do some more work to figure out, is there alternate solutions? And if so, what would those cost? Yeah, I don't know 40 years ago why they put stuff under the building, but there must have been good reason for it at the time, so. All right, anybody else have a question? Oh, sorry, Councillor Siemens. I remember you had your hand up and I forgot. My apologies.
More of a comment, but sometimes we get criticized for building our reserves, but this is a prime example of some of the challenges when we have aging infrastructure. If we don't have reserves in place, then things like this give us a surprise. So I appreciate the challenges, but I also appreciate the fiscal responsibility. So yeah, and I guess just by approving this, if there is a less expensive fix, you have our blessing then to go ahead by approving this. Okay, thank you. And we'll get updated then on that.
Yes, at the September 8th meeting, I'm sure there will be a report updating this. So if I understand this, so this will be a kind of a cost plus arrangement so that, because I thought maybe the contractors had just built in amount of money because they were too busy, but if it's cost plus, I do feel a little better, and then it's just a matter of to make sure that things don't get out of hand.
We are still in discussion with the 2 contractors through procurement.
Okay, so
we're still open to.
Yep, okay, good. So that, I had one other question. Does the report, I think you answered it indirectly. The report doesn't say who's getting the contract. So that's why you've chosen the higher number and you're still in negotiation. So, and I won't get into that because that's a labor or that's a contractual matter. So, anybody else have a question from Mission?
No, thank you. Nope.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any hands here. Are you ready for the question then? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Sorry? We don't have a motion on the floor. I thought we did. Okay. Moved by Councillor Siemens, seconded by Councillor Plecas.
Crawford.
Councillor Crawford, sorry. I thought I saw your hand go up.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's no worries. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Thank you. And that takes us to adjournment.
So move.
Moved by Councillor Barkman, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. All those in favor? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Have a great summer. See you on September the 8th. And
Thank you.
stay safe in the meantime.
Same to you.
All right.